Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. The information shared here is for educational purposes only and is not a recommendation to trade.
Good morning, folks. Thanks for joining me today. This is the retake of the last 1 minute video that I did just a minute ago. There's been some changes on YouTube and the way this broadcasting software interacts with it, so it's just creating an issue for me. Anyway, thanks for joining me. It is Wednesday, the 3rd of December, 2025. It's 7:52 a.m. here in Chicago. This is episode number 2720, or 19 actually. Here, let's just dive right into the Convergent Trading pre-market summary sheet. Hello. This morning, we had the key release today was the ADP employment figure, because we don't have employment figures from this current administration. And we'll see if they'll actually release the non-farm payrolls this month. I know that there have been talks of the CPI not being released, which is crazy. But ADP came in, was expected at 10 plus 10,000, came in at negative 32,000. The prior is 42,000, which was adjusted to 47,000. So this is a big swing down in ADP. We saw the markets react to the downside for a little bit. And then, they're back up near highs again. So that's where that stands. There's other news, of course, but you're not here to hear me talk about the news. We are going to talk about trading. Notice the relative range, relative vol, very, very deeply low. Yesterday was like that, pretty light action. The volume for the S&P right now is a measure, just as a rule of thumb or a kind of barometer. It's 106,000 contracts. So far, we've traded 106,750 contracts, which is relatively light, with RN running at 48%, RVOL 51% for the S&P. We're slightly higher. We've been pushing up a little bit. The NASDAQ, the RN is at 40%, meaning we are currently at 40% of the average range over the last 20 sessions for this time of day. So pretty laggy. This kind of indication is kind of a gross look, because the relative part of the relative range and relative volume is going back to the average of the last 20 sessions. So this is a lagging indicator in that it's telling us versus the last 20 sessions, we've got the volatility or range or volume falling. But that doesn't mean that there aren't any opportunities. Yesterday was just a wonderful whipsaw type action for scalpers. Yesterday was kind of a scalper's paradise is what I called it. But today is shaping up to look about the same. Okay, so that's where we stand. Very, very light action on the indices across the board. The Russell doing some catch up. We're seeing crude pop a little bit higher, up 1.23%. Copper again making a run for it. Huge volume in copper and range, double the relative range and relative volume in copper. And we're seeing a pop in cryptos as well. That's been the theme so far this week. The profile so far is very, very, very balanced. The overnight profile is very balanced. Point of control and VWAP and mid is a little bit lower, but point of control, the overnight point of control and VWAP overlapping each other around 68.52.50. And this is a further indication that the market's just kind of churning right now. So just be aware coming into the day to manage your expectations. In terms of big releases, like I said, we had the ADP. We've got ECB's President Lagarde. We got export prices and import prices came in at 0.0%. Industrial production at 8:15 in about 20 minutes, expecting 0%. We have ISM Services PMI, which is not as big as ISM Manufacturing, at 10 Eastern, and then today we get the crude oil inventories at 10:30, and then this evening, balanced trade out of Australia. That's what's up. Let's just take a quick switch and look at. Let's go to the recap screen here. This is freeze frame. Yeah, didn't I say ISM Services at 10? Thought I said 10. This is a freeze frame from Monday's video. Remember, I'm doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday videos. And what we talked about on Monday is, this setup here, despite the fall, we're coming into this key LIS zone, and the expectation is to dip a little bit. Here's the line. This is the line right here for scenario 1. To dip a little bit, but I'm expecting it to push back to the weekly close, potentially settlement. The prior settlement price, we were opening in a gap down, so prior settlement has a lower historical probability, but I expected the prior close. That was the primary scenario. The secondary is we're unable to get to 68.50, and if we don't and cut through the LIS range, this could be a big trade down into 67.62 and potentially 67.20 being the big magnet down there. Those are the two ideas. The reason I play this back is for accountability and for you to correlate what was said, which is everybody talks trading, after the fact, what was said versus what actually happened, and to take accountability or some understanding of why or what has happened. So let's take a look at the same chart. Here's the box. This box here highlights what I talked about. This is the area I talked about, and this is basically where I drew in those two lows. The LIS stays the same, and you could see that we opened, whipsawed down, but we ultimately got very, very close to the prior weekly close. We missed it by a few ticks before it sold off again, so that's scenario 1 playing out. This LIS remains in place, unbreached. We form a new LIS this morning, very, very short term, just for the open. This isn't for the RTH session, but for the open, as long as it maintains above here, I'm expecting this thing to push higher, to continue to squeeze higher. There is a bit of a double TPO high right here. Let me redraw that. Double TPO high up here. And there's a lick, check, and drop. There's a failed auction that happened yesterday. So I expect that if it does breach the prior weekly high and takes out this failed auction, that this action could be pretty quick and can find us right into the collision zone at 88, right in, this thing is so small and my eyes aren't that great, right in here. That becomes the target for this. So this will be 88. Okay, that's the primary expectation for today. Now, the secondary, let me do you a favor and change colors so that it's not so confusing with colors overlapping. I'm trying to minimize the amount of stuff I'm doing. The secondary is we push higher. We managed to clean up that failed auction, this high, the RTH kind of double TPO high. Then we are likely to come back in, and then if we cross if we cross yesterday's LIS, then this thing is likely to free fall right back into the 6,800. That would be scenario 2. But again, scenario 1 moves with the trend, right? We established a higher low yesterday. Scenario 2 really cleaning up the whatever's left, whatever weak hands are left above the weekly high, and then we fall back through. Not expected, but this is what's likely in play for today. So that's that. Let's clean this chart up and show you the profiles. Now, we are in this wonderful balance range here. We've got a nice MC VPOC going right now in this area. Oh, okay. Whoa, this thing won't stop drawing. Okay, and you can see that, all right, let's go back to this screen, see if that fixes it. You could see that where values are overlapping here. What does this mean when values are overlapping? What this basically means is that despite the fact that participants are pushing for whatever position they're advocating for, we are not sustaining directional movement or price discovery, and so we are overlapping. We keep churning and churning, and what that does is it creates more and more and more people who are wrong when this thing breaks one way or the other. Here's looks like we're breaking down already. Oh, news from Microsoft here. Yep. So this, let's go back. We adjust on the fly. So see this? This is basically scenario 2 starting to form. Again, balance profile. We have mid VWAP right in the same area. Now we're below. Now the scale is starting to tilt more towards a short bias on the open. Here it breaks through the LIS. This situation here in real time, what this creates is an opportunity to look for pullbacks right in here for a short-term short. But structurally, we're still bullish on the action here. So this might fall through, pull back in here, and as soon as it creates a failed, a spike retest fail or a continuation pullback, then, those of you who are in the accelerator program or have done the accelerator course, you're aware of what that is. And we're looking for a certain setup and structure to get short on the pullback to look for the break, and then scenario 2 starts to play out. Okay, so we're changing our overall look here on the fly. Anyway, I was going to cover crude here, but I'm going to tell you that crude is just, a source of boredom right now. Crude has basically created a multi-day double top. It's got a channel going. This is a crude channel right here. We've got a longer term channel, and what we formed is also a shorter term channel like this. And so crude is coming into an apex right here, and it's likely to break out pretty directionally one way or the other. So the market seems to be waiting for some sort of news for crude. Crude opening at the high and pushing down just now. It opened about 6 minutes ago, and it's likely to respond back to yesterday's point of control. Yesterday ended up breaching the one-time framing up that we've had in crude. One-time framing. Yesterday broke that. So, and it broke it right up against the trend line here. And so crude is much more likely to now revisit and clean up these naked points of control. 58 even is the target to the downside, the first target to the downside for crude before it decides if it wants to turn mid-channel like it did here, or if it wants to chisel out a lower low in the 56, 80, 57 range before it turns back up. That's the overall picture in crude. Okay, so here we are, crude coming off, and it's had quite a few of these whipsaw type. These are really important, these V-bottom type of whipsaw structures where it just drops heavily and then it just comes right back up. We see this quite a bit with crude. There, 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 there. So crude is not one of those places you want, even if you're trading the MCL, the micro, it's not one of those places where you want to defend a trade that isn't working. Just be cautious trading this product because it is in a balance, in a kind of a channel that has got quite a bit of balance in it. And of course, it's a macro product, so it's liable to be pushed around. So I want to finish up by saying, how are you doing? What's going on with you? Are you learning every day? Are you getting better every day? Are you struggling? Are you still jumping from method to method to method and starting your learning cycle over and over and over? What state are you in? Do you know the stages of competence? If you know the stages of competence that I've talked about in the past, tell me what your stage of competence is in chat. I'd like to get a gauge for where everybody is that's here. If you're watching this after the live broadcast, then feel free to leave a comment and tell me where you are, what you're struggling with, and most importantly, what would help you? What do you think will help you? Oftentimes, traders think something's going to help them, but actually the problem lies elsewhere. I've dealt with that now for decades with my own traders. But where are you overall? And what do you think you need in order to see more consistency? And it doesn't matter if you're trading your own account or if you're doing, an evaluation account or one of these sim live accounts. It doesn't matter. I'm talking about your trading specifically and how your performance and process is. Talk to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and set your alerts for when crazy stuff like today happens where I have to restart the stream. You'll simply get an alert from YouTube that a stream has started. Good luck, and I'll catch you on Friday. Take care.